Hello everyone. Welcome back to another video from Shoot the Ball. We're doing a Bayern preview today. I mean, the game is literally gonna be in like 4 hours, so I'm kind of doing this a bit late. Um, but it's gonna be a short one, just to quickly run through my thoughts on how the game is gonna go and predicted lineups and obviously what's gonna happen with the final result. For starters, I want to wish everyone in UAE safety. I pray that everyone is safe. Obviously, it's been a bit crazy the last 2 days here with the rain and the flooding in a lot of places. Our area where I am currently was pretty flooded too, but then it's almost dried up now. So I do hope everyone is safe, and obviously make sure you're reaching out to people around you for help. Um, because this is not something that we experience a lot, to be honest, in Dubai. So, yeah, man, just hope everyone is safe, and their things and valuables are protected. But most importantly, your health, of course. Um, cool. I mean, look, we obviously are gonna go through the big game tonight. I think the big game is Madrid City, but obviously for Arsenal fans, it's probably our biggest game of the season. Um, it's crazy. Every time I say, "Oh, biggest game of the season," like my wife keeps telling me, like, "You say this about every game." I'm like, "Yeah, because a new game comes up that becomes now the biggest game of the season." So, when we played Liverpool at Anfield, like, for us it was the biggest game of the season at that time, right? And then we played Liverpool at the Emirates, and became the biggest game of the season, and so on and so on. So, however, personally, I don't think it'll get bigger than well, it could get bigger if we knock out Bayern and then we play City in the semifinals or Real Madrid. Then obviously that becomes the biggest game of the season. Um, yeah, look, I mean, we have to obviously bounce back from two poor results at home. The Bayern result for me was obviously disappointing. It's crazy because my initial prediction, as I mentioned, when the draw was out, was that we'll draw at the Emirates and we'll lose at the Allianz Arena. But because of the performance we displayed against City and Brighton in the Premier League, um, I thought, you know what, we can go on and beat Bayern Munich, which is quite hypocritical of me because I was literally one of the first, not first, sorry, I was literally one of the most vocal people when it came to separating your league and Champions League form, especially for like legacy status clubs like Bayern Munich, right, and Arsenal as well. Like we don't have any Champions League heritage or experience, so I fell into that trap. I must say I'm going to put my hands up and say I fell to the same trap I've been warning others about, and we ended up having a very lackluster performance, in my opinion. Yeah, you can talk about, oh, individual mistakes cost you. That's the only thing that happened. Some people are saying, oh, Arsenal happened to Arsenal. I'm like, come on, that's just bullshit. Because the simple facts are, I mean, our first goals, Saka's goal was from a stupid blunder by Alfonso Davis, who lost the ball in his own defensive third. So, like, Bayern Munich fans can easily say, like, yeah, we shouldn't have given you that first goal. That was a blunder from our side. Usually, when you score these kind of goals, like, it's mistakes from the other team, right? So, it's easy to look at the goals we conceded and say, oh, it's because of our mistakes, not because Bayern Munich had quality. Because Bayern Munich still had a job to do. Like Sane, Goretzka, Gnabry, they all still had a job to do with the mistakes we gave them, and they were able to finish it. Um, yeah, so I think that put us in a difficult spot. A lot of people were saying we need to win. Saad, obviously, in his channel was saying we need to win by at least 2 goals, and I agreed with him because I think 1 goal is quite dangerous to go there at the Allianz Arena because Bayern Munich can win by a goal. So I thought if we won by 2 goals, I thought we'd definitely qualify because we have the quality to go there and play a defensive game like we did against City and see out a 2 goal lead. But in the end, when we were obviously down 2-1 in the first half, you prayed just to win by 1 goal. It doesn't really matter anymore. And we couldn't get that, unfortunately. Thank God we at least got a draw. And the reason I say thank God to that is because we can still approach this game pragmatically. We can still get into this game, play defensive, um, basically play the same way we did at the Etihad, right? Just defend and try to hit Bayern Munich on the counter, which is exactly what they did to us at the Emirates. And then you got like three possibilities, right? Like scenario one, you manage to like keep your shape, you manage to keep focus, for like 90 minutes or 120 minutes. You take a draw and then you go to pens, and we obviously try our luck in penalties. Even though they'll have the advantage because it's at their ground. Um, but we've already gone through penalties with Porto, so maybe that'll help us a little bit. Plus, we've done penalties in the Community Shield against Man City as well, and we've also done penalties in pre-season against Barca and United. So clearly, Arteta has prepped the team for a situation when he has for which he has to go through penalties. Um, Scenario two is we keep our defensive shape, and unlike the City game, we actually managed to convert or finish one of our few chances that we'll probably get in that game. And that's an even better scenario. Obviously, that's the best scenario if we end up approaching the game pragmatically. And the third scenario, which is obviously the worst scenario for us, is we try to defend. We play pragmatic, we play a low block, but it doesn't matter in the end. Bayern Munich still get the goal. And if that happens, obviously we'll have to change the way we play, and we'll have to grow from a defending team to an all-out attack, basically. Well, not really all-out attack, but we have to come out then. We have to press them. We have to start committing players forward and overloading the box to try and get an equalizer. I still would approach the game pragmatically, even though, I think some people would probably say that, Arsenal have been the better team this season overall, if you take league and Champions League form and stuff like that. I don't agree with that, by the way. I think Champions League, Bayern Munich have been better than us, even though they've conceded more goals. It doesn't really matter for me. I still think they've looked better, and in my opinion, they've had tougher opposition as well. Some people might say, approach the game in a more a lot braver and just attack and press them from the beginning. I wouldn't do that personally, because if the result stays as a draw, the way the game is going to start, that's not a bad result for us. The farther we go in the game where the scores are level, I think the better it is for us, because Bayern Munich might start getting a bit nervous. They might start opening up a bit more because they start committing more players forward, which gives us opportunities, obviously, to hit them on the counter. And as I said, worst case scenario, if we don't manage to score, but we keep a clean sheet, and then at the very least we go to penalties, and obviously that's a 50-50 game, right? That's 50-50 chance. So not even 50-50. I'd probably tip us slightly more on penalties, again, just because our players have gone through that twice this season, in the Community Shield, and most importantly in the previous game against Porto, because that was high pressure as well. Yeah, it will be difficult to do penalties at the Allianz Arena with obviously all the fans booing you when you're about to take your pen, but I'm hoping the players have some sort of nerves of steel to be able to manage it. For me, I'm gonna go on my preferred starting lineup. Obviously, Raya has to start in goal. Back four has to be Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, and these four that I've mentioned so far, these are no brainers, right? Every Arsenal fan in the world would agree with these four, right? Starting. The question is always going to be the left back. I think majority of Arsenal fans will agree that it's time for us to start Tomiyasu, right? I don't agree with us saving players for and being careful about their injuries. I understand that if it's the start of the season, or if it's mid-season, and this is a very, very important player, but we're coming towards the end of the season, and this is a player who's barely played games with us. He's missed a huge percentage of his Arsenal games that he could have played because of injury. So when we finally have him fit, and he is our best defending fullback, he's even better than Ben White defensively for me, right? So when we have him available, I don't see why we wouldn't risk him. If we end up starting him and he ends up getting his injury, if he ends up having a worse injury because of that, if his injury gets, I don't think he's injured right now. I think he's fully fit. But let's say he starts and then he gets a bad injury and he's out for a year. Then guess what? Who gives a shit? Because we need him for this period. The whole reason why we're paying him the salary, and the whole reason why we're paying this much and spending that much on the transfer window, is for these big moments, to get to the Champions League semi-finals and finals, to get farther ahead in the business end of the season in the Premier League. So if we can utilize him at this point, there's no point of us saving him again. Might as well sell him in the summer. So for me personally, I would risk him. I would start him. Honestly, I say risk him quite loosely. I don't think there's anything to risk, because he's been back for like a couple of weeks now, and more than that probably, and he's come off the bench a couple of games, so it's not like he hasn't had any minutes at all. It's not like Timber's come back from an ACL injury and I'm saying start Timber. So Tomiyasu has to start for me. That's a must. I think he would do a much better job against Sane. And then for me, and that's assuming Sane plays right wing. By the way, he might play left wing because since they don't have Gnabry and Koeman, they could easily play Sane on the left, maybe play Musiala on the right, and then Muller behind the striker, behind Harry Kane, obviously. They could play Tell as well, or either one of the wings. So I'm not sure how they're going to go ahead with this, but I read something where, in training they had Guerrero and Mazraoui playing together in training the same team. They did like Team A versus Team B, and they both were in Team A. So some people are saying they might start Guerrero, and I've seen him play left wing before. I've seen him play on the wing, so it's not a big surprise if they start Guerrero. I'll be quite happy if they start Guerrero because he's an amazing left back going forward, but I don't think he would be an amazing winger. Like I wouldn't be worried as much of him going against Ben White or Tomiyasu. Midfield, obviously Declan Rice and Odegaard must start. Now, the third position, it's a similar logic for me with Tomiyasu. I would definitely start Thomas Partey, right? Because it's the same logic. He's played less than 50% of the possible Premier League games he could have played for Arsenal. What the hell are we saving him for when this is one of our biggest our biggest game so far this season, right? And it could literally decide our season. If we end up knocking Bayern Munich, we have a chance of winning this Champions League. We're not the favorites. Obviously, City will still be the favorites, or Real Madrid, whoever makes it from there. But we definitely have a chance because then if you reach the finals, whoever you play against, PSG or Dortmund, I think we would be favorites ahead of them simply because we would have knocked out Bayern and then City or Madrid, whoever makes it. Can we knock out City? Of course we can. We've played them thrice this season and lost in none of the games. And obviously, can we knock out Real Madrid? I think that would be harder only because we're not used to playing that kind of team. And I could be wrong, but I think the second game would be in Santiago Bernabeu, whereas the first game would be at the Emirates. While I prefer that, but logically, some people would say most people would say that the second game away from home is obviously going to be harder than playing the first game away from home. But the point is, we have a chance, right? So for me, because we have a chance, we have to take that opportunity, and that means playing our best players. And Thomas Partey, when he's fully fit, is part of our best midfield. Thomas Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, that's our best midfield trio. So I wouldn't save him. He started against Luton. He's come off the bench against Man City. I think he's come off the bench. Was it against Brighton? Or maybe he came off the bench against Bayern Munich. Yeah, when he came off the bench, he didn't look great. But when he started against Luton, and before people say, Luton, it's Luton, it's a shitty team, they're going to get relegated. It doesn't matter. It's still the Premier League. Liverpool lost at home to Crystal Palace. The point is, when he's fit and available, he is much better than Jorginho for me. There is nothing Jorginho does on the pitch that Partey cannot do. The passing ability for me is similar. Partey is a better dribbler. He's quicker. He's better in the air, more physical. He's physically strong, obviously. And I think he takes better shots as well. So in every single department, he's better than Jorginho. Defensively, in terms of tackling and interceptions, I think he's better than Jorginho as well. So it makes no sense for us to not to be risking him and starting him now. Again, I keep saying risking him, but I'm using the word extremely loosely because I don't think there's anything to risk. He's been back for a while now. And we are most likely going to offload him in the summer anyways. So might as well make use of him while he's still here. So Partey, Rice, Odegaard has to be the starting team for me. I think if Partey was starting that first game, I think we probably stopped the second goal. Because that counterattack that Sane did, Jorginho was too slow. He couldn't catch up with Sane. Most people cannot catch up with Sane, but I think Partey would have had a better chance than Jorginho. And in the end, Jorginho does that tackle and actually just guides the ball even more towards Sane's direction. He didn't do anything with that slight tackle. Whereas if Partey went down for that slight tackle, I think he probably wins the ball or nicks it away. So for me, Partey definitely has to start. Rice, Odegaard. And my front three would be Saka on the right if he's fit and available, and if this limping thing is not going to be an excuse. I would start Havertz up top, and I would start Jesus on the left. for me, Jesus has to play, man, because the Champions League, he's been amazing in almost every game he's played this season in the Champions League. Every game he started, he's been really good in the Champions League. Even coming off the bench against Bayern Munich, he was amazing, and obviously he set up the equalizer for us. And I think on the left, the thing is, he wouldn't be my number one option if everyone was fit and in form to start him on the left. The problem, however, is Martinelli has been stinking it up this season. And Trossard has been really good as an impact sub, but he's been horrendous when he started games. So for me, I wouldn't start Trossard because of that logic. Um, and if we are to play pragmatic and hit them on the counter, Martinelli is the best player to start on the left, but I just don't trust his form. His form has just been so horrendous that I don't trust him to switch it up instantly now in a few days after like stinking it up against Bayern and obviously against Villa as well. So I would start Jesus. I think Jesus would take on Kimmich quite often, and I think he would do a very good job at it. Yes, he doesn't have Martinelli's pace, but I still think he has enough pace to help us in the transition and the counter. And it's not like Kimmich is like freaking Alfonso Davies, so I'm pretty sure Jesus will be able to handle him there. And whenever we're attacking from the right side, which seems to be our dominant side anyways, Jesus can keep getting in the box along with Havertz, which will give Bayern Munich a headache to deal with when defending crosses and square balls coming from the right side. So yeah, there you go. That's my starting lineup. Preferred starting lineup for Arsenal. Bayern Munich, I think, will probably go with the exact same lineup as they did in the first game, except obviously Gnabry won't be starting. So I'm assuming they'll probably start. I'm assuming they'll either start Muller in the middle and then maybe play Musiala on the left, or they'll start Guerrero at one of the wings. I don't see them starting Tell, to be honest. I think they'll just bring him on as a sub if needed. But outside that, I think the starting lineup would pretty much be the same. They definitely would start Neuer. I don't think they'll start Ulrich because I don't think he starts in the league. Obviously, he started a lot of games for them in the league, but we've seen the difference someone like Neuer can make, especially when they build from the back, which I don't think they will need. If we play pragmatic, they're not going to need to worry about building from the back because we're going to let them have the ball there. That's obviously my assumption, right? If Arteta goes and surprises everyone and actually plays attacking football and presses from the very beginning, I would be surprised. I don't know if pleasantly surprised, but I would definitely be surprised. But there you go. Yeah, that's my predicted lineup for both teams. Obviously, I just quickly mentioned Bayern Munich because, obviously I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm going to delve deep into the Arsenal one. For my predicted score, I'm just going to go with what I initially thought would happen when the draws came out instead of letting my emotions come into play, because my emotions want me to say like, man, I think we will actually shock them. We will do what we did to Dortmund when we went to the Signal Iduna Park in 2014. They came and beat us 2-1 at the Emirates, and we went there and we beat them 1-0 from an Aaron Ramsey header. Beautiful cross by Ozil, sorry. So my heart is saying that that'll happen, but logically, if I'm just being logical and I take away the bias, I think it will be quite difficult to play the Allianz Arena. I think their fans will make it quite difficult for us as well. They're obviously out of the Bundesliga, so this is the only thing left for them. They were able to rest a bunch of players in the over the weekend, obviously, because the league was done anyways. So they are obviously going to be more. They're going to be well rested and at least more rested than Arsenal were. And I think they're also approaching the game a lot more positive than we are, because we're coming from a defeat to Aston Villa, a shocking defeat, which followed a poor result against Bayern. So I think the players are probably also coming more from a negative mindset. So I don't feel we will be able to. I don't feel we'll be in that. I don't feel we'll have that high level of mentality we'll need this game to overcome the draw of the first game and the defeat against Aston Villa. So I think Bayern Munich's experience, the experience that they have both in their squad and in the manager as well, because the manager has won it before and reached the finals as well another time. So yeah, I think all these things will edge it towards Bayern Munich. and I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna save my prediction. Not that it really matters because I did say Bayern Munich will win, but I'm gonna save my score prediction for Sarge channel. Right? So tune in to Sarge channel, the Football Corner, um, at 7 p.m. UK time, and you will see my score prediction there. But I mean, you guys already know I'm predicting a Bayern Munich win, so I don't think it's really that much of a spoiler or that much of a surprise. Sorry, but yeah, that's it. Let me know, guys, in the comments what you guys think. If you guys agree with this or not, I don't know. I just I don't feel confident about this game at all, which kind of sucks because I was super confident about the first game. Um and some people got me hooked on it because uh, I genuinely thought, like, initially when the draw was made, as I said, I didn't think we'll go through. Um, and after a few results in the Premier League, and obviously after knocking out Porto as well and breaking that round of 16 jinx, um, I thought, I actually got hooked. I fell into that trap of hope, and started thinking blindly instead of thinking logically. The fact is, we are inexperienced, right? And that does count in the Champions League for a lot. Um, and by the way, I'm sticking with my stance, like that I said. For me, Arteta has progressed us in the Champions League. He's progressed us in a European competition versus what he did the last couple of years, especially last season with when we got knocked out to Sporting Lisbon in the round of 16. So just that for me, like, means he's progressed us. Just by reaching the quarterfinals, it means he's progressed us, and that alone is enough for me to say he's done a good job in the Champions League this season. And that is exactly what I predicted at the start of the season. I said if we reach the quarterfinals and we get knocked out to a Bayern or Madrid or Man City, as long as we don't get destroyed like how we did back then, 10-2 and stuff, as long as we don't get destroyed, I'll say that's a successful season in the Champions League. Um, but yeah, let's hope it does go well. Um, The only thing is, it is quite disappointing that we are winning nothing else. If we don't end up winning the Premier League, which is extremely unlikely now for us to win, and if we get knocked out, it would still be, for me, yes, it's progression, but it's still a failure of a season because we should have done better in the FA Cup at home to Liverpool, and we definitely should have done much better against Aston Villa in the league. Um, but yeah, it is what it is, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Anyways, big up, people. Thanks so much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys later at Sach's channel at 7 p.m. Take care.